Good morning, traders, and welcome to the Bookmap All Markets webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. I'll be your host today. This is Bruce
Looking
at Bookmap.
at
I'll be
live
order flow as we do every webinar here. You guys know who I am. I have these webinars on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. And provides a foundation on all markets on Bookmap and order flow, and showing the advantages of being able to read the order flow in the live markets so that we can start to understand where price might go next. Anyway, you have my contact information there. General disclosure, all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure, trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right, let's jump in. Let's take a look at the markets. It's up to you, whatever you guys want to look at. Typically, everyone wants to look at the S&P E-mini futures product, so that's what we do. We start there at least and go over the markets in general. What do we see, and what's Bookmap showing us here? And what are we going to cover today? I want to show you something for you footprint traders out there. As we get going here, I'll do a poll and we'll take a look at some of the who looks at footprint charts or market delta charts, basically. I want to cover some of the information in there that you can see directly in Bookmap as well. It's just not numerical, but I also want to cover what you can see that you cannot see in those footprint charts, and that's really important to understand that distinction. All right, I'll get into more details as we go. That's something I want to cover. I also want to cover some of the market pulse algos that we have, so that you guys can learn more about those, ask questions, etc. We've released some new algos in there, so go over the ways of reading those. Good morning, Jack. Good morning, Tony. Aloha. So let's get started here and just look at the current order flow at the moment. Lots of liquidity here at 41.90. It traded, and you can see the we can zoom right in there, but you can see the big transaction right into that 41.90 liquidity right here. And what do we know about that? Well, we know that there's more selling pressure. Okay, that's a really, really simple read. Okay, now it's obviously it's before the open here. It's 9:13. We know that there was selling pressure here. At this point here, this is totally absorbed. Okay, it did not go through this level here at 41.90 and a half, and we see a little bit of a bounce. Price did not go through that level. That means that this liquidity here absorbed all of that selling pressure at that time. Now we found more after pulling back a little bit, and market took a little bit of a breather, and more sellers come in. And then this is very classic, guys. This is one of the setups or one of the order flow phenomena to take a look at in market structure and understanding the order flow. High liquidity, it transacts, more selling pressure, pull back twice or three or four times, in fact, right to where it broke from here, and all of that liquidity traded. You can always look for, this is just a microcosm of a setup here, or a fractal of it. Here's the selling. That's where sellers took control. Okay. And there's the zone here. We know sellers are in control. We get a pullback. Okay, now look at the pullback. Not a whole lot of volume in here on that pullback. Not a whole lot of sellers on the retest down here either. Okay, so it's really kind of back and forth in here. And that's exactly what it does. It chops. Okay, now we have more sellers down here. And we're not making even an equal high up to here. looking for follow through to the downside into other areas of high liquidity. And why? Because we know there's sellers here, and we know there's more sellers here. So we continue to look for that selling, and they are in control of the market on this small time frame. This concept works on all charts, a monthly chart, a daily chart, a 5-minute chart. It doesn't matter. Understand this concept, and understand who's in control, and then go with that direction. You can look for pullbacks, etc. There's all sorts of trading strategies that can be extrapolated from comprehending this order flow phenomena. All right, so good thing right off the bat to see, and we're just covering the basics here. More liquidity down here. Now, did it trade? No. Still in the order book at this point. Okay, we didn't even come down. We came down close to it, and not. I'm sorry. It looks like something did transact. No, not one contract transacted. It did above here. Okay, 86 contracts, just one tick above. They never tangled with these 567 contracts there. Okay, so was it absorbed? No, it just wasn't even traded. And we see reaction here at 9:30. Okay, the market opened up and it moved down toward here. It traded into this liquidity here, and we see buyers come in hand over fist here. Now, who took control of the market here? I'm asking. So let me get to the questions here in all markets as well. Good morning, guys. There it is. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see some of this stuff earlier here. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. So good morning, Rob. Yeah, good morning, Jack. All right. Yeah, well, so, okay, so buyers. We can see that. And is it covering? Yeah, it could be. Could be. To me, though, this will we see there's a stop run here. Okay, so maybe it's people getting that sold down here, getting stopped out on the way up. I mean, they're getting stopped out both ways here. You see a stop run to the downside, stop run to the upside. But that's okay. Like, what we need to understand here is, hold on a minute. What we need to understand here is look at these buyers coming in where, for the most part. Now, there's microstructural areas in here. You could say they came in here, right? Let's just zoom out a little bit, though, and let's just say most of them came in right around here and moved right up into this high liquidity up here at 92. Okay, what we're talking about and what we're covering right now is about the order flow, but we're talking about market structure and the order flow within the structure here. Look at the pullback here. Here it is right here. Okay, this is no different than this concept here. Okay, this is just smaller time frame and less volume. Okay, so and again, right there's your pullback. Okay, in fact, it pulled back into this liquidity here as well. All right, so just understanding this concept of who's in control and what time frame, and you've really got something that you can lean on now, right? By understanding the market participants here. All right, so anyway, worked out really nicely here. Some back and forth. We did get a boost here from the data. 9:45. As you can see, the liquidity dries up in here, and we had some news, and we see a move to the upside here. All right, so and we're finding buyers hand over fist. Now, we can also look in these areas here. Same concept here again. Here's the buyers. Okay, here's the pullback. Okay, a little bit below the swing. I mean, they could have come down here. 41.90 and a quarter, but they didn't, right? They just came to kind of the top of this little range right here. Okay, that's what we want to see. Okay, so if you're a pullback trader, These are your areas if you've determined who's in control. Now, these don't work out 100% of the time. Nothing does. That you have to understand and comprehend. There is risk on any trade that you take. Okay, but we can go over this again and again and again, and you can see that it holds true. So what does that mean? Hector, this is for you. Go back and study this. Okay, where do you want to place your stop? How much risk do you want to take? What's your profit target? Okay, there's your risk reward. So for example, in this setup here, maybe you're looking back now. Let's just go through each one. Okay, how you might maybe mark this up. All right, so number one is if you're a pullback trader, where are you looking for the pullback? Okay, where are you likely to get filled? You probably would have gotten filled here, to be honest, just because of all these transactions here. That's probably where you would have gotten filled. However, note this right here. A lot of times you don't get filled right here. You had a perfect entry here, and you don't get filled because it's a limit order that you've maybe placed here. Front run it by a tick, and you're just going to improve your chances of getting filled a lot more, much higher probability. All right, so you would have gotten filled one tick below. And then where do you want to take your profit? Okay, what's your risk reward? Okay, this should work right now. All right, so let's go through it here. Here's where you got in. All right, well, we know that sellers are in control from this point on. Where do you want to place your stop? Well, maybe you place it up here. Okay, so here's my range then. And guys, I'm just using these simple rectangles here as ways to and let's draw another one to just measure here. That's all. All right, I may need a couple. Just very, very simple measurements here. All right, so instead of looking at certain points and whatever, we'll just draw it up. All right, so there's my stop. All right, well, here's a one-to-one trade right here down to the bottom of that range. Okay, basically one-to-one. You probably wouldn't have gotten filled here even if it was a tick above, one tick above here. Right now that's one-to-one though, right? Where do you want to take some off though? Well, this is really to be determined. Like how much risk do you want to take? Okay, I like to take some off down here at the bottom of this range here. I like it to be better than one-to-one if I can. But I don't want to get stopped out, and this is a really small range. Okay, so these are the considerations. All right, now we can take a look though and look at next area. Well, this looks pretty good. Okay, here's 2-to-1, right? And 41.87, lots of liquidity there. Great, that's a great target. Okay, so hold for that. Okay, so Hector, this is what you do. Go mark this up and look at these areas in here. What is your risk reward? Where do you place your stop? And then go through. Did you get stopped out or not? Not that you took the trade. Even if you would have marked this up, even if price reversed here, okay, and went up and through it. Okay, so because you need to know like how many times this worked, and then just put this into an Excel spreadsheet. How many points did it go for you and against you? Now you can start to how many points was your stop? What was your risk reward for scaling out 1 or holding for 2? Or maybe you didn't, maybe your first scale out is down here. Okay, and again, I like to front run these by a tick, and I probably wouldn't have even gotten filled here, to be honest, at this 87.25 because not too much transacted there. Pulled back again, and then it went through. And again, here's a small little fractal of that same trade. Here's your pullback, and there's your follow through. Okay, sellers in control. All right, so now we have 4 of these actually. Now this one's kind of a joke, but and there's your pullback there as well. It's just too small. But if you were hyper scalping, it's the same concept. Now you have something. Right now, did the bigger trade work out 2 to 1? Yeah, it worked out pretty nicely. What about 3 to 1, 4 to 1? Well, looks like 3 to 1 would have worked out as well. Okay, just about 3 to 1, and that's about it. How do you trail your stop? Or do you leave it way up here? These are things that you have to study and think about. All right. So, and again, here's another one now. All right. So look at some of these ranges in here. Here's your pullback. Where's your stop? Okay. It would be the same exact thing in here. So let's suppose you put your limit buy down here. That's your entry point. And then, maybe your stop's down here. Go through the same process with the rectangles. Okay, start to draw it up, start to measure it, start to get a feel for it. What's your risk reward? Is it worth taking? Maybe it's worth taking these compared to these with one to one ratio for the first leg out. Not even 1 to 1. Is it worth it? Do you want to take that risk? Okay, maybe you can take a smaller trade here with a couple of micros or something like that to consider. Okay, maybe here you ramp up. You have a better risk reward. These are some of the questions, but keep it simple. Okay, just mark it up first. Don't worry about trade management yet. Do you have an edge? Okay, mark up the next one, and again and again and again. All right, guys. Well, that's off to a start here, and we haven't even looked at the bigger picture yet. Sorry to rant so far, but let's see here. Let me get to some of the questions. The video quality, no, the video quality here should be equal in YouTube, as well as it should be even better in Discord. Yeah, Rob, you're all over it. So yeah, sounds good. Yeah, Jack, you're looking at that 41.85 level and that rejection. Yeah, that does tell quite a bit. It never even came to it. The delay should only be here in YouTube, only about like maybe, well, I mean, we saw like 3 seconds when we were testing, but it might be, maybe 4, 5, I don't know, but it's not 10. Okay. That's too bad. The Discord should be good. Yeah, Jack. Okay, so here you have Jack. He's confirming too. Like, he likes to front run his take profits as well. Yeah, Rob, you found that 2 ticks works better for you. Okay, there you go. Yeah, good discussion. All right, let's see here. Where did I wanted to, I got kind of sidetracked right away in here by looking at this setup here and then talking about the study in this. But this was a good example, and there's like 3 or 4 examples right off the bat here. So Hector, this should answer a lot of questions you've been asking me, right? And that's why I wanted to go through this as well, so that now you know how to do it. Okay, we just covered it, and you have to do this work. Okay, no matter what it is, if you're looking at a double bottom pattern, or here's a triple top pattern, right? Well, look who took control below that triple top here. Okay, the sellers did. They were tested though by buyers here. It rejected again. Okay, look, Jack was on to something. This is pretty telling down here. This 41.85 area down here. The sellers didn't even come down there. They didn't even make a new low. Okay, they just came down to where? Even 1 tick above our pullback on this original trade idea here. And then look at the selling looks good, okay, but buying looks pretty good here too, pretty strong. So who's in control here? What do you guys think? Hector, it's the only way. You'll just need to do the practice. It's not just practice. You need to document it. You need to know that you have an edge. You've proved it to yourself. You have an edge. It's like, let's take a simple example, like ridiculous example. If it's a coin flip, well, you already know that the chances are 50-50, right? On a coin flip. You didn't have to study that because it's so simple. But this is more complex. You have to study it. Okay, you have to know your probabilities. And this is how you do it. All right. And then once you start to have faith in this, you start to you can start to trade it. Okay, but you trade it in demo. You see if you have an edge. Do you have to work on your trade management of it? Did you is it clear in the real market when it's unfolding? You have to answer these kinds of questions. Can you see it? Can you react to it? Do you get filled? All of these kinds of questions, because like when you do a back testing study and it's automatically done, good luck, because in the real world, it just, there's a big leap from having that automation back testing and then the forward-looking testing, right? And your fills can look, you can see just a beautiful equity curve to the upside with some sort of algo that you might have developed, and then see if you can really trade it, and see what that equity curves look like at that point. You'll probably see it go down, most likely. Anyway, at this point here, who's in control? Nobody, right? There's buyers, there's sellers, it's all over the place in here, and we're just chopping. Okay, now that's an edge though too, right? Okay, so let's just mark it up here. Here's our zone. Sorry, I did this twice now. All right, here we go. Here's our zone here and here. Okay, now just for this trade, all of this trade activity in here basically. Okay, now this is something to look at and study as well. Okay, now this doesn't makes me kind of queasy to look for this though, and I don't really quite, I have to study it more basically, but this would be your potential range bound trade in here, right? So top of the structure here. Okay, now you're looking for something in the order flow to give you that edge. Okay, well, they're pulling in the order book. I see buyers, and I also see the book here kind of stacked on the bid. I'm actually looking for it to test higher. Okay, so this is not a range bound trade. I think it might break out of this range, and if it does, I'm looking for it to come up to this swing or this liquidity here, 95. All right, so was this a range bound trade opportunity? No. Okay, but you can look at that as well. Now, what to look for in here for your range bound trade is who's not, we know someone is, no one is taking control here. All right, at this point here. Okay, so if we come up and we still don't know who's in control, well, fade the outside edge. It's likely not going to break it, or if it breaks it, it'll likely come right back in and trade back down to the mean here. Okay, it's like a mean reversion trade here. And what I mean by mean is the most traded level in your volume profile. So this would be your level here, would be 92.5. Okay, and you'd look for that. But we were looking for not this setup in here. It did not set up the way that we liked it. In fact, it looked like it was going to break out to 95 and maybe 96. Okay, now look at it. Okay, well, what do you think now? Right, it traded up into these areas here, and now we're right back down to where it broke out from. uh doesn't look too clear here. I'm looking for the order book and the order flow and the volume and structure to tell me something. And right now I don't really see anything telling. Okay, so maybe we see something in here. Let's take a look. Okay, well, we have a potential here. We have potential of this being trap volume, and we know what that looks like though. If that is a trap, we're looking for big red dots down here. We're looking for in the order book that this liquidity starts to stack on the offer, okay, and this liquidity on the bid not to be doing what it's doing. See how they're bidding up here? We don't want to see that. We want to see them pull, and we'd look for it to come back down to this liquidity or this liquidity. In fact, it would be better not to see this liquidity at 92, right? And then that would be your range bound trade. Okay, now it's something to take a look at though and to study, but we're looking at the behavior in the order flow to give us an edge for a range bound trade. Okay, so it's actually something starting to unfold here, but look at it though. Is it an edge? Well, they're still bidding up underneath here, and no, I would say no. I mean, we do see more liquidity coming in here at 95.5, and we do see the sellers, but I just, it doesn't look that compelling in here. And they're still kind of in the book down here as well. So yeah, I don't like it. I would filter this trade out. I would not take it. Okay, we're looking for this as a potential trap and a move back down into these levels here. Anyway, guys, so you know, this is, again, like, take a screenshot of this and then go back and study. Okay, put this together into something that is understandable for you and what to look for. All right. Okay, so Jack has got a conversation going with Rob. All right. All right, so let's go over we're going to clear everything here, and we're going to take a break from what we've been discussing here, and look at and understand some of the market delta. All right, who in here? Let me put out the question. Hold on. All right, guys, there you go. So do you use market delta charts or footprint charts? And if you do, I mean, a lot of people do. It's been out for quite a while, but I want to cover it here in Bookmap, right? Because once you start to understand what you're looking at here in Bookmap, I imagine you're just going to gravitate toward Bookmap more because you can see more details here. You can see things that the footprint charts just don't cover. One is liquidity right off the bat, and we're going to take that off the chart here for now, and we're going to cover just the aggressors in here. Okay, and we're going to understand momentum as well. You know, we talked about it already, right? Who's in control? Okay, well, you know, we have the delta dots on here. We have delta bars down here. Okay, in fact, let me we'll even simplify it with stops and icebergs. I'll take that off just for now. All right, so what we're looking at here is best bid and offer streaming over time, which gives all of the price action. Okay, all of the price structure is in here because it has to be. It's every little nook and cranny or every detail in the price action. And we're looking at the aggressors here. So let's click on the volume dots here and go to volume dot settings. We're looking at volume delta, buy minus sell. If it's a red dot, there was more sellers than buyers, and that's why it's red. If there's more buyers than sellers, it's a green dot. And that's it. It might be all buyers. It might be all sellers. It doesn't really matter. We're looking at the delta. The bigger the dot, the more volume delta there is for that color. Okay. That's it. All right. So now what about the volume bars down below? Okay. I also have it here as volume delta. Right now, you might have it as total volume or maybe something else. Total volume is fine, but it's showing always the sell volume is on the bottom, and then on top is the buy volume. Okay, it's not any sort of, there's not always more buyers in here, for example. Right now, this could be helpful. You're looking at total volume. It's up to you. We want to look at volume delta here. All right, now for a lot of you footprint chart traders, let's take a look at our poll here. How's that looking? Okay, it's only a quarter, 25% of the people trading footprint, but we don't have too many votes there. But we know it's popular, and a lot of traders use it. The thing with the delta, market delta, is you'll see down below here numbers, maybe a stack of numbers, like 4 or 5 different numbers in here, like aggressors, buyers, aggressors, sellers, the delta, etc., blah blah. What we're looking at is basically the same thing here, but we have actually quite a bit more to understand here. Right, because that's an aggregation. When you're looking at that bar in your market delta, you see this readout. It is a candlestick bar or a bar of data here. Okay, and you'll see the delta on that bar. Okay, that's the problem. That's one of the problems just beginning with your market delta charts. It's a bar of aggregated data. Okay, instead in Bookmap, what you're looking at here is the delta, and you can see all the details. Okay, where did it begin in the price structure? Where did it end? Where did it pick up, etc.? Now we have the dots in here, and that answers all those questions. The bars down below, though, it just shows you the big spikes. Okay, now we know sellers took control here and moved it down into this lower area, and we know from the delta, we can see it in the quick move. Okay, which is what we want to see, and we want to see strong, consistent selling on that move to the downside, and we have that. We also have strong, consistent buying back up. Okay, now let's do the comparison though. There's still more selling in here than there is buying, okay, by comparing these two here. Okay, so we already know that the sellers are here and they started roughly, we can zoom in even further here if you really want the details, but they roughly started right around here, right? Actually at this point here, this is a low volume pullback on the buy side. Okay, and now the low volume pullback actually went above the sellers, or where they initiated here. Okay, it started here, but it really picked up here. Okay, well, let's mark that one up too. All right, and you can see the spike above it, and I got to do it. It's got to be a stop run above there, and yes, it is, but it's a big stop run to the downside. There's our now we're going to relate this to the footprint chart. This is where the footprint chart, you won't see the details in here. Okay, we know the delta, we know sellers are in control, we know that the sellers have been tested, and some have been stopped out up above here, and then we kind of chop back and forth in here. Okay, in fact, look at some of the details in here. Okay, this is where Bookmap really shines because we have other market structure in here. Okay, you have this little structure, you have this little structure, and look at the pullbacks. We before looking at the smaller structure, we recognized this is where the delta really picked up, and that's where you got the move above it, and the move back down to it, and the bounce back. Okay, so buyers are above that area here. Okay, now they are not in control though yet. There's like the buying is back up above, but we don't have that strong consistent volume yet. This is kind of an interesting case scenario to cover this. A little more challenging for the footprint traders, but what we want to look at though is where did the buyers come back in, right? Look at this big dot here. Okay, you guys know what I mean when I'm talking about this big dot here, you footprint traders. You're going to see your high volume node. You're going to see your big volume there, a number. Okay, and you're going to key off of that. And footprint traders key off of it. This is the pullback to that, and it was supported. Here it is again, right? Now what Bookmap is showing here is the graphical representation. It's not a number, but it is a big green dot. And we know that there's more delta here. And this is how you can use Bookmap. All right, for you market delta traders. Start to understand what this is in here compared to your footprint chart. Yeah, ultimately we do find more buyers back up above, and we continue on higher. We were looking at this move here actually earlier. Okay, and we're still seeing more delta in here. Look at again the bars. Look at where it's transacting here as well. Okay, so we're looking for this to continue on up. Let's test up here, these 10 o'clock highs. Okay, it's just doing it right now. All right, so now again we can take a look at this and we can start to look at delta in here. Okay, now momentum is another thing that we want to understand, and you guys looking at your delta output down here, you know, in your bars, you guys know what I'm talking about. You'll have your number and a color and a bar here, and the bars are just, they're stacked up like this. You know, one, you know, will be the market delta, one will be the aggressors of the buy side, the sell side, whatever, and you'll have your numbers here, and then it will just repeat, right, one after another. And then you start to read that, but you're reading this down here, you know, and then trying to look at it and understand it within the structure. Okay, well, these volume bars are basically doing the same thing. Okay, understanding the bars here, it is basically the same thing. You're looking at the delta. Okay, now let's go and see where it's trading, where it's transacting. All right, so, and we can start to understand now this within the price structure. Okay, so most of the transactions were up here. Okay, for that delta, for this bar here, well, it's somewhere around in here. Okay, and it went back and forth in here. Here we have some exhaustion. Look at the delta down here. Do we see sellers down here? No. Do we see buyers starting to come back in? Yeah, right in here. Where do we look for this to go? We know that there's buying up here anyway, right? So we're looking for this momentum of buyers to continue, at least up to here. Okay, and that's exactly what it just did. Okay, a little shy of it. Now we're going to have something interesting, and I was kind of hoping that this would happen here. Now we see a lot of selling coming in, right? Okay, here's our delta. Okay, now buyers are still in control in this structure, but it just came down and tested this swing here. Okay, now what about all of these buyers in this area here? Okay, having to be squeezed. Okay, where are they gonna go? And this is why a measured move actually can be very helpful, because their stops are going to be, someone's stops are going to be like either at the swing or 1-to-1, or that's why these kind of structural areas work. So now we're looking to see if we get big delta down here, and we do have pretty strong consistent move here actually on the sell side here, strong enough. Right now, this is relative volume here. Scott talks about that a lot. Now, do we have sellers down here? Yeah, starting to pick up. Okay, so let's see if we can get it kind of changed a little bit. The delta changed a little bit when it was down here, all right, let's see if we can get another move back down here. That would be the first thing we look for, is exhaustion here, or if there's buyers here, we're looking for them to be trapped, and we're looking for the sellers here, and we're looking for the sellers down at 93.5, and then the break and the move down. Okay, we'd be looking for where might this go? Well, let's look previously at some of our delta bars in here. Okay, this isn't a bad area. Look at all of this delta in here. Okay, and there's a structure here, right? And there's a structure here. So the swings, yeah, maybe. Also this kind of these delta areas that we just spoke of. Okay, now I know that's not much, but this one looks much better, right down to that area. Now, what about the delta though? What can we learn about from the transactions in here? Well, it's mostly in here, right? So maybe we find more support in here. Maybe it's the sellers that get trapped in here, and we continue on up, and we get more buyers again. Okay? This is the risk that we need to assess. Okay, and we're using and understanding the market delta in here, and understanding who's in control in some of these areas, and are they still in control. Hope this is making sense for you guys. Here we go. All right, so here are sellers coming in now, and yeah, I mean, we just noted this is where those buyers really came in here, right? So actually, the first area we're looking for the break was here at 93.5, but this is actually kind of an important area right here for it to break, and we're looking for sellers to come in and break that down. Okay, so far so good. I'm looking for it. I'm looking for 91. All right, so anyway, again, market structure, and then the volume and the delta within that structure. Now we can take this a step further as well in Bookmap. Now I don't want to confuse everybody here and go too deep down this thread. I just want to, my goal in here is for those footprint traders, those volume delta or market delta traders, to understand and how to utilize this within Bookmap. Okay, you can really pinpoint the same areas by looking at your delta in Bookmap, in your volume dots, and you can really pinpoint little structural areas, and that makes a big difference, because you're not going to get that structure. It's going to be on a bar in your market delta charts. Okay, so you can really pinpoint these areas in here. Okay, you're gonna notice the same thing. That 95 here on your delta charts is the same as the 95 and the volume that traded here. Okay, so maybe you look for a pullback there. All right, and then the continuation to the downside, and you almost got it. It came a little shy of it here, anyway, yeah, this is a way to extrapolate that data and information from your delta charts into Bookmap, and you're getting a lot more though, because you're getting the pure price action and the structure instead of the aggregation on the bar. Okay, and you're going to notice the same areas. In fact, you're going to be able to see even it beginning beforehand. A lot of the market delta traders, I see them waiting for that pullback, whereas we're already looking for the momentum to the downside and already took some off and then look for a pullback and maybe splice back in, and then looking for continuation. Right. So anyway, yeah. So these guys actually, these buyers still remain in control here. Actually, from here, we're looking for the move lower and looking for 91. Well, look what shifted and changed right here. A ton of buyers, a ton of delta just came in. Okay, now this is the other advantage here we have with Bookmap. Okay, we recognize that. Now they just shifted the market away. Okay, and we're above this little area here as well. Okay, that we identified earlier. And we're above it on some pretty strong buy volume. All right, so now I'm actually looking for the move back up to here. Okay, 96.5 or 97. This shifted the market here. And it's, look at the volume, look at the delta again. Okay, so now these buyers came in and took control. Okay, and you can even look for your pullback maybe to here, or maybe they even come all the way back down and retest these buyers at 93. We got to go through the scenarios in here, because we've seen it all the time, especially in choppy market environments. This delta looks pretty good, right? Pretty strong buying, shifted the market. Sometimes you can get equal and opposite right on the other side, and now these guys are the trap and they will get stopped out. All right, now why did I, that makes everything confusing, but that's why we wanted to cover this one here. Okay, because here's your strong volume to the downside and almost equal. Okay, it's less buying, you can see it, right? But it's still pretty strong buying that moved it back up. Okay, and then and this is where the buyers took control here, right in here. All right, you can look at it, you can see it. Look at the bars, the delta bars. Look at the delta dots in here, and look at the structure. Now, this understanding that just these three elements here of the bars, the dots, and the structure here, you've really got something. This is how the market mechanics work. It is the buying back up above that area, the pull back to it. Are they still supporting it? Yep, they are. Okay, and they're supported it again, even down here. Went a little bit below them here. Interesting. So we did get that equal. Did we get equal delta on the other side here? Not quite, but we are now. Look at it now. Okay, so now we've got someone taking control. Okay, now where are we looking for them to move it? Low of the day. Okay, and maybe and then some. All right, so now these buyers are not in control any longer. Okay, now it could be an opposite and equal force by the market delta, okay, by the buying again, but right now it's dominated by sellers. It's dominated. Okay, look at, we've already had a pretty strong pullback here. Okay, I mean price wise it pulled all the way back to these guys here. All right, so anyway, this is some of the details that I wanted to cover about market delta, and then understanding that within Bookmap. Okay, and understanding momentum behind this as well. Okay, right now this is a low volume pullback. Right now, I want to deviate here for just a minute about the low volume pullback and the setup in here. A low volume pullback is still here. Okay, but the price move came all the way back up here, and we've covered this now for a long time, for some years, these are the traders in control here. Okay, and the doesn't really matter if it's low volume or not. If you can get the buyers back up above where these sellers took control, and then you get the strong buy delta here, well, then they can take control of the market and move it back up. Okay, so, and this has happened now a bunch of times actually today. All right, so just wanted to we got to go through that scenario because this happens, you know, a lot. Typically, what we look for is sellers in control, small pullback. Buyers are not interested in doing this and tangling with these sellers. They are firmly in control, and they're not interested in buying. They're interested in buying back to these areas, and then that's about it. Okay? And then usually that's why a lot of times these low volume pullbacks, there's very little volume, and it's basically exhaustion up here. There's no buying. It exhausts out, and you get sellers come back in, and they'll trade it back down into areas where they can, okay, where it can transact, because we know that there's sellers down here. All right, guys. I think we can end the poll. I'm kind of shocked. Only 32% are market delta traders. Okay. I know I looked at it for years as well. I like it. I mean, I thought it was amazing to see. Then I saw Bookmap and was really surprised that not only is the same information here, and we haven't even touched the heat map yet. Okay, it's that we have way more context here. This is where we're covering the same things in here that market delta traders are looking at, except we can go into more detail because we're not looking at a bar. So you can open it up and you can really zoom in. You can look at these areas. You can zoom out. It doesn't really matter. You can still get the aggregation of the delta here horizontally. All right. Now the other advantage here, though, and this is a huge one, is the heat map. Who's on the other side of the trade? Was it absorbed? And this is where you're going to get a lot, okay, by understanding the other side of the trade here, right, and the order flow. Okay, and that reaction here, we're looking at it earlier, and we talked about it for that one setup, and then here we just covered the delta instead, the volume. All right, well, here we go again. More sellers here. I'm looking for them to break it, hit 88, and then our 85 level, which is low of the day. Okay, sellers are still in control in this small move here. Okay, they pulled all the way back here. Yeah, here's where we saw the buyers trying to take it. They tried again here. And look at this. This is where you can start to look for potential traps too. Right? So we need to see seller. Now it would be great to see exhaustion in here. We'd like to see the order book show more on the offer, pull on the bid. They are. This is working out. Now we're just looking for our aggressors. Okay, there's a little bit on the bid here, right? But we're looking for our aggressors. We're looking for our red dots here. We're looking for our delta to take control again. Okay, now this what we just covered in here about market delta. This works on all time frames. We can look at seconds of data in here, and it is the same. Okay, look at buyers. Actually, tons of buyers coming in. Are they buying here at this top level? No, now they're not. Now we're seeing sellers, lots of sellers. Well, now it's back and forth. Okay, so we're not really getting too much out of that at the moment. Okay, here we go. Sellers at the bottom edge here. Now look at the delta all the way through here. Okay, it's pretty back and forth, right? Okay, now we're looking at delta and structure, and we want to see the sellers down here, and we want to see them try to move it. Okay? And they need to take these guys on at 89.5 and trade through them. It looks like they're on the bid here, right? So they need to tangle with these guys and they need to trade through it. That's why we were just talking about it. It looked pretty good. Or was it in here? I think they were starting to pull. Was it here? No, maybe it was down here. They're starting to pull. They're adding here on the they were adding on the offer and they were pulling on the bid, and we started to find some sellers. So we were looking for it to go lower, right? Well, this is starting to change, shift and change. And now they are on the bid here. Now they're pulling on the offer, and we're getting some buyers up here. So this is really back and forth. And we saw that at this very low time frame in here as well. All right, so one more detail in here on Delta that I wanted to cover, and that detail is that we also have it on the horizontal, and this is really great. Okay, let's clear our drawings one more time here. So what we can do is look at it in our volume profile columns here. Right click in here, go to configure, and then you can choose Delta here. And all this is doing in here is looking at buy minus sell added up across this price level here, and then giving me the delta. And here it is, right? So we can identify it this way as well. Okay, now again, note though that this is an aggregation. So we don't know where that volume delta really took place. I mean, you can look at it in here. You'd have to study it. It's here. This is where most of it is, right here. Okay, that's way back here. That's not relevant at this point. So maybe we want to take that out of the calculation. Okay, well, there's still quite a bit here. Right, it's this cluster in here. Well, that's kind of irrelevant too. It's becoming more relevant, but it's irrelevant. Okay, for the small time frame. Okay, still a cluster of buyers in here. So now we can mark these areas up. Okay, and you can also look at this, and we covered this when we're actually looking for this possible breakout, and we said that if we can get below this area here, look for the sellers and look for these guys to be squeezed, the buyers in here. Okay, they should be stopped out on the way down. So you can look at these areas in here. So yeah, I mean, and look who's trapped, or look who took control in some of these areas. So for example, right now, look at this coming back up here. Okay, here's our breakdown right here, 92.50. All right, but what if we can get buyers back up into this zone in here? There's a lot of buying up in here. Right, well, that means that these sellers in here are likely going to be the buyers up in here. Okay, they'll be forced, and then the buyers have a chance to take back control of this market. And where is the most likely place for it to go first if you can get buyers back up in here? What do you guys think? Okay, and we'll look for that scenario. See you, Jack. All right, so here come our buyers. All right, so where is it likely to go? Well, right here, our high volume node. Okay, so yeah, somewhere like 94 and a quarter. Okay, it's like a magnet. Yeah, 95 a little too high. I mean, just for starters here, just to get maybe so, Abby, maybe 95, because that's where the selling came in. And there's where the swing is, kind of up here. I like that idea, but we're looking for a higher probability, and we're just talking about 94, and we've already done it. Okay, now look at the delta in here. Is it pretty strong? Yeah, it is. All right, let's see them get up to 95, 95 and a half. Let's see them get up to 96 and 97 here. I'm looking for this to continue. We're above this delta here, and we're back in here in control with these previous buyers in these areas here. Okay, and we're seeing a pretty strong move, and we're seeing pretty strong consistent buying on the delta. Okay, now it just kind of exhausted out here. This is not a good sign. And now it might turn into a flag pattern, but usually what we want to see, even on a flag pattern, is we don't want to see this here. See how it's exhausting out? And that's not a good sign. Okay? Instead, what we want to see up here is that continuation, big green dots all the way through like this. Okay? And then small little red dots pulling back. Okay? And then into some little area in here. Now it might come back down into 93, but you know, look into some little area in here for that potential flag pattern. See how it's coming all the way back to 93, right? And we like this move, but the exhaustion we did not like. Okay? And now we're looking for ultimate scenario here is that little selling in here, followed by again big green dots, break the high, have this liquidity pull, and then hit up into 97. Now we even look for a measured move, you know, somewhere about let's see here, something like this. Yeah, your measured move is not too great. It's only up to about 95 and a half. Okay, and why? Because of the deep pullback. All right, if it stopped here, then we'd look for a measured move like back up into 96, 97. Right, but right now we're just looking for a move back to about 95 and a half. Okay, again, like these are a lot of concepts that we're covering that you may have learned over the years, but now we're looking at it in a very different way, in a different light, using the order book, and we're looking at the delta here as well, okay, and the structure. So a beautiful move, Abby, right to your 95 area. Again, I didn't want to. I'm not trying to counter your. That was a really nice call. I was just calling the move to the concept of the most traded volume there. Therefore, it can transact there back at 94. That was my concept. Okay, now look at it here. Okay. On the offer here, I don't see much on the bid at all, and I don't see a whole lot of selling in here. So now we're back into our kind of back and forth market here, okay, until we see something more. Okay, well, now we're starting to see a little bit more. Okay, just some buying, but the offer is still pretty strong here. Are they bidding up a little bit? Not bad, a little bit. It's here in, you know, blue here. There's some exhaustion though. Sellers will probably take it right back down to 93 and a quarter. All right, any questions on comprehending this market delta within Bookmap? It's pretty straightforward, but what we're opening up and then interpreting that market delta and that footprint chart here on the Bookmap. Okay, this is now volume wise, this is looking a lot better for a breakout here. Okay, well, you can just see the relative volume up here. There's more delta, again, delta and delta, and then delta up here, okay, of buyers. Right now, it's not a whole lot, but it does look better. I don't see a whole lot of selling down here. Okay, so I would look for this. This would be a weak top, and for it to break and trade up into here. Now, the other question though is, what does the order book look like? Okay, see how they're still offering here. I want to see them pull. I don't want to see these guys bid up on the other side. I want to see this imbalance in the order book, and then I want to see the aggressors come in and move it. Right? They have a pathway to move the market, and I'm looking for that delta to continue and momentum to continue. I like it, Abby. You've been paying attention in these webinars. Excellent. Yeah. So yeah, and again, I would just echo or hearken back to Hector. Just seeing it play out is just the starting point. It's just the starting point. Understand now, go back and study it, and really know this concept really well, and know when you have an edge. Okay, now you have something, and you can lean on that, and you can use that to your advantage. All right, so I think I covered it pretty well in here. But let's just zoom out and look at maybe bigger picture. And you know, one of the reasons why I'm covering this today, and let's just get rid of these candles. They just drive me nuts. Was something that we had yesterday. We had the webinar with Nicholas from Data Dash in crypto markets, and we were talking about Delta, or he was starting to know it. And if you guys haven't seen that, I would highly recommend it, that webinar from yesterday, because he's talking not so much about order flow and Bookmap. He was talking about cumulative volume delta, though, in Bookmap, and I wanted to take that further with the delta bars and the delta dots, a lot further, because the data is all here. It's all here, plus you get the heat map. Okay, plus you can understand the supply and the demand in here, and that's a lot better information, the combination. But it was in crypto, and like, you know, we can look at these areas in here. Let's look at this for the day right now. I mean, it's been pretty choppy today, really choppy. So, but let's look at the delta here. Now, I would say based off the delta, buyers are in control, right? Now, where are they in control, though, is the key. Okay, we also have our delta column now that we punched in here. So now let's take a look at, in the overall, it looks to me, if I look at all of this delta here, okay, it's really here. Okay, so this is kind of the critical area today, okay, for these buyers. Are we above that area? Yes. Do we see buyers above that area? Well, we just saw this move back up here, and then we saw the exhaustion, and we're like, no, we don't like that. You know, looking for a potential pullback. Here is your pullback. Okay, so now, can we see the buyers come back up to the top of the range here? Okay, I would say this is likely going to happen here. It's kind of sloppy back and forth in here. But yeah, looking for buyers to test back up here to about 95. 94 and 3/4, 95. And if we get enough buyers in here, now we can get the breakout. All right, look at the delta. Let's do the same exercise that we just did here for the day on this fractal level in here. Here's where the delta took place on the buy side. Here's our pullback here, right? So we're just looking for the top of the range here. Okay? And this is where we left off on the webinar, starting with who's in control in some of these areas and understanding that, and then looking for pullbacks and a move back to the top of the range and then a breakout. Okay, and we talked about controlling your risk in that as well. All right, I think that's actually a pretty good note to end on. If there's any questions in here, else, yeah, let's just we'll wrap it up and call it a day. You know, start off exactly or end exactly where we started off in covering this and understanding these moves on these various time frames and understanding the delta in here. Okay, the delta within the price structure. Okay, by the bars and by the volume dots. Then add the added information here with this order book in here. Okay, now we're still looking for buyers to remain in control here, okay, until we see something different. Now we may get all of a sudden all sorts of sellers come in right now, and they'll blast through this area and it'll come right back down to here. This is the likely area it will go. Okay, bottom of the range, liquidity down here, 90. Okay, but we need to wait and well, we don't know if that's going to happen or not. The order book not really telling us much here. First off, I'm not seeing those sellers right now. Order book is not telling us much. In fact, they're still on the bid here at 92 and 92 and a quarter. Okay, so this is still in play. Okay, buy side. Okay, now we can even look here. Let's see if we can get a little exhaustion and a little bit of buying in here. Okay, same concepts, and then buyers to take control here, right here at 93, and move it back on up to 90, 95, 94 and 3/4. Okay. All right. I don't have a CVD up. We can plug it in though. There we go. There's your cumulative volume delta. Anyway, it was an interesting discussion yesterday because Nicholas was talking about delta on crypto being quite negative, and seeing that week over week now, because he looks at much higher time frames and positioning himself on those higher time frames, right? But the concepts are exactly the same. Okay, then I noted, we had a discussion about, I noted back a few years ago when crypto was around 20,000, and it was just, I'd never seen anything like it before. Bar after bar after bar was delta positive. It was all green, no matter what. Even if the price action was going down, and there was a little bit of selling in here, there wasn't one red bar. Like maybe like one or two every now and then, but boy, not much. So, and what ended up happening, it went from $20,000 to $60,000. So it was massive accumulation. Okay, and we're doing the same thing in here, but on a much smaller time frame. Okay, like look at this here, the same ideas. This is starting to work out now, and I'm looking for it to come like we were earlier, for it to come back up to 95. Right now we're looking here's a little bit of imbalance in the book. Okay, that's good, and I don't see much liquidity in here until 95. So the buyers have a path here to go, okay, if they can take it there. They need to show up now. Anyway, the yeah, the concept is exactly the same, and we can even look at this area in here. This is where all that delta took place, okay? That selling, and that's not that strong, consistent, selling that we're looking for. There's a little bit in here and maybe a little bit in here, but it's really here. This is where it spiked, right? So this is kind of the key area. We want to see buyers back up above that area. Okay, makes sense. And we did get that in here, and then they failed to take it. They failed to take it higher here. We're still looking for it though, right? So from here, is this the magnet, and we get the sellers down below, and then we get the strong move like this, okay, back down to the bottom of that range here? Or is this where buyers remain in control and we come back up to 95? Okay, well, our cumulative volume delta it's been positive, and we noted it in here as well, all the way through. Some selling in here as well, but mostly buying here. All right. So now this is tricky in here. There's mostly buying in here, but we want to see those buyers come in and take control and move this market. Now it might happen now because we have the potential trap here. Okay, but they really need to come in hand over fist. I don't want to see like small green dots in here moving this. I want to see big green dots. When it hits you over the head with those big green dots, that's when you know you have something. It really stands out. Right now, it's not doing that. All right, and we can look at our structure in here. We're making lower highs and lower lows in here in this small structure. So it's not surprising to me to see this happen, this move back down. Okay, we know there's still more buying in here. Okay, so if we can see the buyers come back up above this area here, then we've got something. Okay, because this is where the sellers just took control. Well, let's see if we get it. And what we're looking for now is, again, hand over fist buying in here, those big green dots, and then we can charge right up into 95. Okay, so starting to unfold. Looks pretty good. All right, buyers, let's see it. What about the order book? Well, it's not too good. It's not really showing us much. There's not too much of anything in here. A little bit of buying here at 90, 91 and a half on the bid, and they're starting to pull a little bit in here. So yeah, I would say this looks pretty decent here for that move up into here. They're doing it. It's just not, again, it's just not that hitting you over the head, hand over fist, right? And that's another filter, Hector, to look for. Okay, that relative volume in here. Okay, and now the delta, see the delta picking up in here on that buy side. That's good. It's a good sign. Okay, they have a pathway here to 95 now. It's just not hitting us over the head. Let me show you another example when it just hits you over the head, and you really look for that, and you want to ride that momentum, right? And boy, when you see that, again, this is something you'll have to go back and study. But when you see that, then and you know the risks that you're taking in here, and you've studied that, and you know the risks that you're taking, a lot of times you won't even have any drawdown at all. You're just jumping on heavy buying momentum, and it just goes right up, right? And those are very easy trades and very quick money. Okay, the timing though, you have to be there for them, okay? And you have to wait for them. And you don't, and a lot of times it may even happen in maybe in here, and you don't even know it, like, or there's selling in here that just dumped. Okay, we've seen that so many times before, that we don't know when that's going to unfold. Okay, but Yeah, look at even this move to the downside here. Here's our cumulative volume delta. Look at all of this buy delta here. It's looking really good now. I'd say it's looking better than ever. Let's get a little more buying here at 93.5, and then this should pop immediately up to 95 basically. I would look for a quick move up to 95, 96, maybe 97. Okay, now we might get our breakout. Yeah, now they're starting to pull a little here at 95 as well. Okay, they don't want to trade. There's all this buying momentum behind it here. Hey, what about the order book? Yeah, on the bid, it's not looking so great, but on the offer, yeah, there's a cluster up here. Needs to trade into and maybe through it. But we want to see them on the bid here supporting it as well, and we want to see them pull a little bit more in here would be really great. And then we can get up to 97. Yeah, see it's starting to unfold a little bit here. Okay, now again, let's go through this example. Now we're at 95. I would take some off. Okay, now the momentum still looks really good here. Okay, so you could still hold, but this is where you really want to manage your risk. And this is, again, back testing this and studying this is where you're going to get the magic. What about, like, here, another scenario starting to unfold, equal volume, just as equal selling coming right back in. Okay, well, then it looks like a pretty good decision to take some off up here. Right, this is something you'll have to determine. Yeah, Deborah. Yeah, I trade these all the time, these rotations. I'm sorry, current CVD number. You wanted to see that. Yeah, here we go. I think I have mine reset at 9:30 or not. Yeah, it reset at 9:30. You can see the green line there. All right, well, look at the move. All that great momentum that we're looking at earlier. Now let's just zoom out and look at, kind of bigger picture. It's still not bad, but look at the exhaustion up here at 95. That's not, again, that's not what we want, right? We want to see strong, consistent buying up into 95, a pullback, very little sell volume, and then a move back up with strong, consistent buying and the breakout. And that's ultimately what we're looking at. That'd be picture perfect. Okay, well, anyway, as you can see, when you start to identify that momentum in here, and we were looking for the quick move, and it was rather quick, up to 95. What was a drawdown in here? Like, very little. I mean, we weren't in the back and forth in here. We were like in it here. I can't recall where exactly, but it was just that was an easy kind of pain-free move up into 95. That's understanding delta. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see it, buyers. I want to see a big stop run here too. I want to see this big, huge commitment by the buy side and the stop run, and maybe this will be the big quick move here. Okay, up into 97. Okay, so again, like, we have to read through these things in here. Took some off here. Looked like a pretty good decision at that time. Pretty strong selling coming in, top of the range, and pretty strong selling coming in. And that's not good. And it exhausted out up here. Not many buyers. That's not what we wanted. Okay, so we took some off beforehand anyway, and then this started to unfold. And then now we know in retrospect, though, like, that selling, it could have picked up and it could have come back down here and below. Let's just look at our delta again. Okay, our horizontal delta. Yeah, it would have to get down here about 93, 93 and a half. Maybe really down in here is where you start to see the selling. But look at all this buying, and look at this cumulative volume delta. Right? So this is what we're talking about with momentum trades. Okay, starting to understand that momentum and the delta behind it, etc. All right, guys, if this was helpful, please hit the like button. That really helps us determine what to cover, what not to cover. We do look at it. Yeah, please give us some feedback there. Let's see, Garrick, my CBD's at 36 something, 35. You're welcome, Will, Jay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the feedback. Yeah, well, we're looking for this to unfold and continue, right? I mean, there's a bunch of buying behind it. We identified it. We just are looking for the follow through here. Now, just be careful with this. Know your risk management. This is why understanding this momentum or this market delta and your footprint charts and how this applies in Bookmap in here, like all these things are great. And you can still lose money because you didn't manage it right. You need to know you have to protect yourself first. Okay? Don't add into losers. When you see this kind of starting to unfold, take some off in certain areas that look like higher probability. Hold if it still looks good for continuation, and it does, right? Know when like that equal force comes in on the other side. Yesterday was a good example. In the morning, yesterday in the S&P, fantastic move up. Right here, let's just look at the higher time frame here on the hourly. It was here, this hour, or here, better on the 15-minute, much better on the 15-minute. This was the momentum move to the upside into this. Okay, right into this. All those sellers here. Let's see if we can look at. All right, well, you guys can see it, I think, I hope. Into all of that selling in here. That was it. And then an equal amount or even more selling comes back down. And where do they go? Bottom of the range here. Beautiful move. Okay, and you can look for these things. And it was strong momentum on the upside, but equally strong and then even stronger. Really picked up back down here. And you can see what happened, though. Buyers came right back in and traded right back up here again. Okay, so there's some pretty strong buying. What about today? Well, look at the gap down below. This area opens up, and we're looking for a potential gap fill here. We see some wicks up in here, 98, basically just above 4,200. I was watching a little bit of Charles's webinar yesterday, which was great stuff. We have streamers every day. He comes in on Mondays. Tom B will be next, and then followed by Doug after that. Anyway, guys, he was talking about the 4,200 area. Okay, above or below it as being really important. Well, we're below it right now. I'm looking for these buyers to retest it right now. Back up to the swing high, 97, 98, maybe a gap fill, okay, at 04. Okay, but this look for the test up to this kind of 99 or 4,200 area. All right, guys. Yeah, thanks so much. It's something I've been wanting to cover for quite a while, to look for this edge here, and go and determine your edge now. Hector, go back, determine this edge, and you guys, now you have something. You don't have to like listen to someone else tell you that, oh, this is what you should do. No, now you have something you can lean on. You've done the studying, you've digested the concept, but you know now, like, you have an edge because you studied it. That will give you so much confidence, and you won't just abandon it and jump to the next one, the next idea. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you tomorrow with JTrader. Have a good day, everybody, and yeah, we'll also see you back on Friday here. Okay, yep, have a good day.